Hello, guys. Steering here with the PAA Team Tour PRs. I am joined
Yo,
with
what's good?
I'm joined with Cardinal today to record the PRs. Why not, right? So just a
Damn, okay.
fair enough. Just a preface. These PRs do not mean you'll win a game. It does not mean you'll lose a game. You can beat someone higher than you on the PRs. That kind of deal. It's
Yeah.
just kind of a fun little thing where we all just look at the games a bit, do a little more analysis, because why not, right?
Alright, yeah.
Um, Order we're going in, we're going to go from 8 to 1. So, reviewing the 8th place team first, all the way up to the first place team. Strengths, weaknesses, overpays, underpays, in my opinion. Again, you can you can disprove that in the season. The big X factors, all of that kind of shit. All right, so let's get into it. Um, we have first off number 8, Sleepy Oshimaras. This is
Yeah.
Gojo and Quinn's team. Players are Kebabs, Ryan and Ditto. Jordan plays David, SD, Gumi, Lady Lilac, Giratina.
The first thing I'm just gonna say about here
Mhm.
is that Jordan, way too overpay. Sorry, Jordan.
There was a few overpays on this team. I think I can agree with that. The big standout thing to me is that every player, there isn't that much experience in the AAA format on this team.
Yeah, their best player is what, Verizian?
Probably Lady Lilac's the best player, but they haven't actually played a season here. I just know them from other leagues. Um, they have a lot of Elysian level coaches, or like Div 5, Div 6 coaches, like lower Div coaches on this team.
Yeah, the majority of them are in there.
Yeah.
I will say that Jordan does have a bit of Uber's experience. He did play that.
That's true. I think on this team, yeah, I think the X factor may actually end up being Jordan on this team.
Yeah.
Um, he can be the most experienced player on this team, surprisingly. He has played the most seasons
Which is,
in PAA,
he has played multiple different AAA
and
formats.
he's the only one in this with a division win,
Right.
albeit a bottom div, but still a division win nonetheless. I know Gumi has some AA experience as well,
Right.
but
As well as running their own league.
yeah. And I think Lady
I
Lilac's gonna be another one I want to see. I want to see how they do
I
as
would just
well.
like to say that I think it's very funny how Jordan was used as a benchmark during team tour drafting.
You used him as a benchmark during Team Tour drafting. I don't think anyone else
Multiple
did.
people used him as a benchmark. It wasn't
Whatever.
just
I
me.
didn't benchmark. Whatever. Um, I'm just very curious to see how Lady Lilac does as well. I think that's going to be like their main pillar for a lot of
Yeah, I
winning
think they're
games.
like top three is gonna be like Jordan,
It's
Lilac, and Gumi.
and then Kebabs as well is going to be solid. Ryan and Ditto did make the
Bob's is gonna be
finals.
a solid player.
All things considered, this team doesn't have a weak link, I'd say. But the entire team as a whole is definitely on the lower end of things.
I would like to, I think a couple people on the team would work well together,
Yeah,
but yeah.
I mean, we'll see how it does. There is some chemistry with like Gojo, Quinn, Kebabs, especially. So they could probably make something work in terms of their prep and their teamwork. But it's an interesting team. Looking to see how they do. But I do have them at 8th. On to the next team. We have Piss Esports. Isaac and Zai are the captains, or Potato Z, whichever one you want to say. Orin, Hem, Growth Chestplate, Quantum Bugsnax, Sub, Kaizako, and Bleedle make up this team.
M was like a really good pick. I feel like I would have paid more for him if I was the captain.
I would have gone a lot less. Hem is a
Uh,
Cobalion player.
really? I don't know. I think
Yeah,
Hem is a good player.
fair enough.
Um,
I
I don't know
think
about you, but I feel like Orn might be a little bit
I
higher
think that's
than
the
I would.
single biggest overpay in the entire draft.
Who's
Again,
Orn?
Orin is a great player.
Orn is, yeah.
Do I think anybody should go for 47,000? No. That's my big thing. There shouldn't be a single player that has gone for 47,000 because then you lose your depth, and this team has it in spades. Like the lack of depth is shown in spades.
Right.
Orin may be able to.
After like the
Sorry.
two,
Yeah.
after like Hem, I think everything just was like,
Bugsnax is my wild card here. Again, from what I know about them, they haven't played draft in a while, but they were really good when they did play. And so it's gonna
Um,
like we do need to see how they perform.
I do know growth in a couple leagues. I don't know if they're that experienced with
They've played a bit.
AAA. All I remember them for was having a team name of like Urshifu Rapid Strike Gigantamax in one of the leagues I was in with them.
Well, he's a. We'll see how that goes. I think Oren's gonna be the one who's take. Oren will have to win every game on this team in order for this team
Yeah.
to have any chance. Sub Kaizako and Bleedle, I don't think have that much AAA experience combined between the three of them,
Right.
which I think is the biggest thing with this team is they have three players that are very inexperienced in the format and in draft in general. And then Quantum Bug Snaps and Growth Chestplate, you don't know what you're going to get with them.
Right.
Hem may not take every game. Isaac might not take every game. Potato Z might not take every game. And so you run into that sort of issue there. I also am very curious to see how this team works together.
I don't really know of that much chemistry that would go on between many of these players.
That's kind of my thought as well.
Yeah.
Other than the captains, I don't know what's going to happen with that. We'll have to see, but I'd say this
Maybe
team has the least
Orn and
chemistry
Hem,
too.
but I don't know if those two
Who?
really work. I don't know. I think Orn and Hem might work well together, but
Even then, like I've never really seen them and Call much together either. It's a very
that is
big
true.
sort of toss up with this team. It could be higher than this, but I think they're going to be competing to get out of the bottom of the barrel here.
Right.
And they need their top players to be consistent in order to prove that wrong. I also need to be, like, again, Sub, Kazako, and Bleedle also need to step up and play at a higher level, I think,
Right.
is what I'd see. So, yeah, the bottom two were the bottom two here. I think there's a big jump after this, and I'll get into that, but yeah. Number 6, I have Tatsugiri with the earpods, with AirPods, bleh. Lego, Martin, Lucas, Chalk, Galaxy, Dawn Platinum, or Matrix. Ditto, Cutie Fox, Miko off the perk. Um,
They don't really necessarily have that bad of players like Cutie Fox, Chalk. Those are like Galaxy. Those are some pretty good players, at least in my opinion.
I think it's a pretty deep team, is what I got to say about it, right? I think that's the thing that the last two teams had very little strengths, unfortunately. I think this team does have a very solid strength within their depth. I know Lego and Martin can both hold their own as well as captains in their games, but like Lucas as their top player is solid. Chalk can play, Galaxy can play, Dawn Platinum can play, Ditto can play, Key Fox can play, Miko can play. Their entire team can play. The thing that they're missing here is that extra punch at the top, I find.
Right.
Right? Like you have Lucas, and then my question becomes who's your number two?
Right.
Right? Is it Lego? I don't know. I haven't seen him play
I don't
that
know.
much AAA.
I played WPF with Lego. I mean, I was just not too much big of a fan of Lego themselves, but
Well, that's not what the point of this
I
is.
I know that's not the point of this. I know, but like I don't know about their play
I
style.
think the X Factor on like Dawn Platinum. I think they've got two different X Factors here. I don't know who Meek off the perk is. I've never seen them play in my life. I'm sorry.
Nor have I,
So
but
we'll have to see how
I don't
that
know
goes.
if that purchase was too high. I've never
It's not.
myself seen them play.
It's more. That was their last of the budget, so it was a 5K. But they didn't have any budget to spend after that, anyways. So
So they just went all out. Okay,
yeah.
yeah, I see what you mean.
I think the biggest X factors for me, Dawn Platinum, Matrix. I've seen him play in a lot of team tours. How quickly is Matrix going to pick up the AA format? That's a big one. And can Chalk be that number two? I think is my big thing with this team. Coming off of a championship in Verizian, after dropping the last two seasons, if he can play at that higher level where he was before, I think this team has a solid shot.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be
Yeah,
where
no,
you
I
need
don't
to.
disagree with you there. I don't think this team has a solid shot, but
I think I'll also preface this now. 6 and 3 could have been placed between 6 and 3 could have been placed anywhere. I just think this is the team with the least likely chance due to that. Who's going to fill the other top spots?
I also I'm looking at this. I don't really know of any of these players who have played together all that much.
Lucas and Martin have Don Platinum's generally a really good teammate for a lot of the teams too. So, and I know Lucas is a good team tour player as well. So, it's not the best chemistry I think out of all these teams, but it's definitely
It's not the
there.
worst.
Yeah, I'm definitely like this is the team I think I'm the most curious to see how they do. They could win it all. They could be around this area. They could end up being, I think, the only team that could be seventh out of the remaining teams. But yeah. Anyways, on to number 5. We have Smeargle Spriters, Lock Plock Phantom, Kinetic Shadow Time, Banana Soup, Goose Fart, Psychopompus, Damu, and a large mongoose make up this team.
None of these players are necessarily like I know at least the captains those people play together quite a bit. Phantom and Locked.
Phantom and Lock play a
Um,
lot. Kinetic, I think, will fit in there pretty well. Banana Soup and Phantom have good chemistry as well.
Goose is just well,
Goose is just kind
Goose.
of there.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah,
I
I think
know. I think
you're
Damu
going.
and I played together in like last off season.
Hmm.
Uh, I don't know how well they're gonna fit in there, but I think they can do pretty good.
So I think the thing about this team is quite my questions are about the depth of this team. I think Kinetic can hold their own. If Goose farts in Gen 8 AAA, I think Goose will win most of their games in Gen 8. I
Right.
think Banana Soup's a solid player. But beyond that, there is a lot of potential. Like, Shadow Time's a solid player. I just don't know how their AAA experience is. A large mongoose is a fine player as well. Again, the AA experience comes into question. But how is that depth going to form out here?
And hold on, I could be wrong, but aren't their captains both? Not to say that like against their team, aren't the captains both like fifth and sixth div?
They are lower div captains as well. Yes, so that is another thing that holds this team back. Can Phantom take games off of players? Yes.
The Phantom won, correct?
Phantom
Phantom won before the
Phantom has won a
division
season.
shift, before we added Victini. So
Phantom has won a div before. Yes. Um, so it's going to be interesting to see how they do as a team. X Factor here is really hard for me to pick, but I think it is Shadow Time. Um, I have seen them play draft before. They're a solid player. Can that transfer to AAA? If it can, this team can get 4 wins most weeks in Kinetic, Shadow, Banana, and Goose Fart. And then someone else, I think, could pull in. Well, you only need 4 wins in a week, right? And so I think that's going to be our big one. But
right.
I'm also definitely curious about that depth and how that's going to round out for this team.
Yeah, I think this team is gonna do well this season.
Kinetic especially is interesting because he does perform really well in main seasons, but from what I remember, his off seasons haven't been as amazing. So I'd love to see how that forms out here and can Kinetic be consistent in this format. All right, I think that's everything about them. On to the top half. Number 4, we have Moist Floatsels. Cardinals is your team. Mr. Kid, Super Dragon, Bug, Will, Cardinal. As I said before, Cardinal left the call, so I'm back in. We have Cardinal as well, Nightfront,
I may
Guanian.
not have accidentally turned off my computer.
You're
I'm
fine.
stupid.
You're fine. Don't worry about it. David, Caleb, or Mr. Kid, Super Dragon, Bug, Will, Cardinal, Nightfront, Guanian, Becca, and Mojo Scorpion. So
No offense to Becca themselves. I don't think they really know Pokemon all that well.
it's more the fact that Becca just literally won't play a game.
I think they're just gonna build for her and just stick her
No,
in.
she literally won't play a game.
She isn't gonna play at all.
You're yes, she won't play. She is not going
Damn,
to
we
play a
can
game. So they are basically
prevent her.
man down. Um,
Okay.
you're basically man down. The reason why this team is where it is though is because of that top. Um, Bug is I think the second best player in the draft pool, and at 35,000 is, I think, okay. Will's been rapidly improving and is a very strong player now himself, and had a
I
very
don't
solid record in
know.
LDO.
Just as a general statement, I don't know how Mojo's gonna do. I've never seen them play before.
Neither have I. I know Nightfront's a relatively solid player. I know Guanian
No,
is pretty good.
hasn't Nightfront been to like Worlds itself as well?
Hmm? Sorry?
Pretty sure Nightfront's been to Worlds too.
Again, I wouldn't know. I don't know if that's really relevant here either. But
I know it's not exactly relevant, but
the
I'm saying
point is,
they're a good
though,
player.
that top bit is very solid. Um, Mojo Scorpion, again, neither of us have seen him play, so that's going to be an interesting one. The X factor here is actually going to be in their captains. David or Mr. Kid can be a very solid player when he wants to be. Is he going to be that player? It's which kind of David are we going to get for this tour? Are we going to get the one that actually wants to win the games, or is he going to get the one that wants to meme out? And I think that's going to set a vibe for that entire team and how they want to play. Cardinal is now gone, so I guess it is just me for a bit. That's going to be the big thing here. Let's see. Otherwise, right, Nightfront is coming off a long break from playing PAA. I think the last season he played was season 4. So does he still have that in him? Otherwise, this team's very solid. It's just that depth is very questionable. They need their top players to win their games, or it can go downhill. Right? They could drop all the way down to 6th if their players don't play their top level. Also, with Bug having IRL things as well, can he stay consistent in terms of his ability of playing games? Because he needs to play almost every game for this team to make sure they stay afloat. Anyways, we move on. Cardinal's back now. Cardinal, do you have anything you want to say about your team? Just while you're...
Well, I think my team itself, we have like good captains. I'm not too sure about Caleb, but I think they can do well. David, I know, is a pretty good player.
I
Myself,
already...
to be honest with myself, I was picked as a joke, which I think is kind of crazy.
Well, then show them why you're a good player then. But, yeah, so that's that team. Most of what I said, I think, is the big things there. Number 3 now, we're on to Deep Fried Spiels. Fried Adams, Zach Parrott, Wealthy Wizard, Queen of Roses, Egro, Lou Rinaldi, Sundays, Silly Willy.
And
I
we did
think
say that like 5 through like 3 is gonna be like really tight,
6
right?
through 3 was all really tight for me to make the decisions on, yes. So, like, 6 through 3 is really close. 7 and 8 are, I think, a step back, and 1 and 2 are a step ahead. I think the thing with this team is, I think this is the single most consistent team on this board. With
Yeah.
Zach and Wealthy being very solid players. Queen of Roses is a solid player. Sundays has a lot of AAA experience. Silly Willy has
Fried
some
and
AAA
Adam, those are
experience.
both pretty good players as well.
Fried and Adam are solid captains. I've not seen Lou Rinaldi play, but
I don't think I have either.
I
don't know about Silly either.
Silly has some AA experience as well. I've seen them play. They played in SCDA. The big thing with this team, to me, your X factors are going to be Zach or Wealthy Wizard. Can one of them step up to be the top player on this team? Because
And then
yeah,
E-Girl, I think, would probably be their Insurgents player.
Who would?
E-Girl.
I mean, we'll have to see. I'm not entirely sure about who plays what format, and that's not really what I'm concerned about either. It's who on this team is going to step up to be the person that beats Bug, beats Sammy, beats me, beats Sean, those kinds of players.
Nobody needs to step up to beat me.
Lucas, that kind of deal. And it's going to be Zach Parrott or Wealthy Wizard. You spent the money on them. Will they be able to perform at the value you spent on them? The depth is going to come in. You're going to win at least a game a week. I'm almost certain with this team. But can you win them all?
Right.
The reason this team's 3 over the other 3 below it, 4, 5, and 6, is just that consistency. This team is the only team I think I can put money on to win a game a week, no matter who they play against, because of how deep the roster is.
Yeah, they're a pretty consistent team.
Even Sundays might be the one who steps up and performs, but somebody on this roster has to step up to be the number one. Because right now they've got 2, 3, 4s all over the roster, and that might cost them if they can't beat the best players that are on this board. Anyways, on to 2. We have Scorching Suns, Mighty Barb, WB Neal, Sammy CE, JustSomeRandom, Fernatch, Mishmash, IDK, Enolar, Doja Noob make up this roster. The reason this team is above the last is, again, the top power on this team. Sammy alone makes a team around him better, but also is probably the most likely player to go 7-0 in this tour.
Lucky is actually really good here.
Lucky's not a
maybe it's
bad pickup, but he's there.
I think Lucky is good on this team.
Okay. I think, again, the depth is still relatively there. I think the lowest div player they have is IDK, who still has some relative AAA experience in the format and such. Sim sort of thing with Lucky. I don't know how that's going to go exactly. But we can actually bring Lucky in to ask him about his team. Let's do that.
Oh yeah.
So Lucky,
There we go.
I'm going to ask you a question about we're on your team right now. Give us some takes.
You're recording.
Give us some takes.
Yeah, we are.
Where are you in the doc?
Well,
Let me.
look at my screen share.
Yeah.
Lol scuffed PRs as usual. Love that. Anyways, I think the biggest X factor for this Scorching Suns team is going to be Mishmash. I know they're a very solid player. Again, it's how is that AAA format going to transfer over? They can be the number 2 on this team, I believe.
Yeah.
I think in order to beat the number 1 team, Mishmash needs to be that number 2.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I already mentioned it before. I think that a lot of the knowledge base is solid. So I think the skills are mostly what's at stake.
Yeah. I think, again,
That's
Neil and Barb can hold their own. Fern can hold his own. Enolar can hold their own. Doja Noob can hold their own. IDK and you, I don't know how you guys are going to play, but you guys can play the game. It's
Right.
who's going to step up and take on the other top players other than Sammy.
It's feast or famine, but it's going to be fine.
Yeah. But I think the consistency mixed with the top level play here is what sets this team apart from the ones below. But there is one more team with a little bit more consistency and a little bit more top level that I have to put at 1. And we're going to go to it now. Francophobic Turtles. Me.
Rigged.
Not rigged.
Rigged.
Wasn't me.
Rigged.
Whatever. Me, G4 Fiesta, Blind Messiah, Morgan, AZ, Shorty, Iceman Braun, Will, and Jack-O-Lantern make up this team. The reason why we've had it here is, yes, Sammy is probably the better player, but there are 2 top div players on this team. And that can't be said about any other team in this league.
To be fair, one of those 2 top div players lost 2 months to a Farfetch'd.
You know what? It was probably me. But
No, it was Sean.
Oh, it was Sean. Never mind.
I don't know who G4 Fiesta is as a player.
So that's a thing. The thing about this team as well is there isn't that much AAA knowledge running through the team. And I think that's the biggest shortcoming of this team, right? You have Iceman Braun, who doesn't have much experience. You have Will, who doesn't have much experience. Jack-O-Lantern doesn't have much experience. Neither does G4 Fiesta. And so you have players that are going to need to learn the format, but they are all solid draft players to begin with.
But that's the exact argument you used to put the other team at number 2.
Yeah.
It's a very similar argument, yes. I think, again, the reason why I have this team over the number 2 team is the general depth.
It's because it's rigged.
Okay, Cardinal. It's a general depth. The draft players, in my opinion, are stronger on this team. And I think having both Sean and myself on the same team as the only team with 2 top div players just puts it that step above. AZ and Morgan can hold their own. The question becomes I think the X factor here is actually going to be Tom. They are a top standard player. They have been for years. Can that transfer? And will they be the next guy on that team? They don't
Hold
need
that
to be.
thought.
Pardon?
Hold that thought. Who was the one again that only had ladder experience that you placed in Victini?
Which season was that?
This season.
I didn't place anyone with only ladder experience in Victini. Everybody in
Oh, then
Victini
it
was
was
there last season.
Caldio.
It was Caldio and that was Serao. But they did fine from what I remember when they played. And ladder and like I rather have a player that's played draft before than a player that's played ladder AAA before.
That's fair.
Everybody
I'm
on the
just
team is a draft
saying
player.
that you placed them in Caldio and they ended up going 1-8.
Nobody said my placements are perfect.
That's what I was getting at. I wanted to hear you say it.
Yeah, but even going back to Scorching Suns, you have the same sort of deal here with, like, Mishmesh hasn't played much AAA draft. Even if you keep going back, you've got some ladder stuff. Like, Sundays on Deep Fried Fields doesn't have that much draft experience, right? So it's a thing. But anyways, with this team at least, can Tom step up to be the 3? AZ can already perform as a 3 on this kind of a team. But I think that what's going to set this team over the top and allow it to win is if Tom steps up to be that top-level player that he is in standard format as well. I think there's enough confidence in the bottom of the roster to beat out the other bottoms of the roster. But the set apart is going to be the top level here, I think. Any more takes?
No, I think that it's kind of fair in the sense that I just joined.
Yeah, fair enough.
But I do think that it's quite close, most of it.
Between 1 and 2, I think it's quite close. I do agree. That's kind of what I was saying before.
I do think that's the one benefit of doing an auction.
Yeah.
Because people need to budget.
I think, as I said before, Lucky, I think you missed it. 1 and 2, I think, are very close. 7 and 8 are very close. 3 through 6 are very close. I think there's gaps otherwise. But
well,
yeah.
I think it's for team tours. A lot of the time, it can feel like a random grab bag, but that's part of why they are fun.
Yeah, we're gonna see what happens. There's definitely a lot of wild cards, a lot of X factors here that are gonna make this what it needs to be, and make teams perform better or worse than we expect. But yeah, I mean that's the PRs. I hope y'all enjoyed, and I mean, I hope everyone enjoys the season ahead because it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah, the point is to have fun and just share experience.
Of course. The whole point of the season is to have fun and it's bringing the community together even more than it already is. So we do want to make sure everyone enjoys. And as I said before, these PRs don't determine whether you're going to win a game or lose a game, just for fun. Hope you all have a great day. Peace out.